I was woken at 4:30 this morning by the sound of hedgehogs squabbling. Now, it's good that there's hedgehogs in my garden because they're having a bit of a hard time at the moment. But it still means that I have a feeling today's not going to be a good day. Blustery is definitely the word I would use. And wet. A bit wet and squelchy out here on the fields today. God, and it's windy as well. It's too blooming windy for videos today. So let's catch up with some arts projects. Remember these guys from a couple of videos ago? My characters from an imaginary folk festival. There's the Jangler, there's Crimpy Jack, the Pasty King, and there's the Teaser. Well, it was time to make a fourth character, so I decided to make a mock mayor. Mock mayors, or sham mayors, were once very popular at May festivals all over the UK. He's kind of a Lord of Misrule character. It sort of parodies the official office of the mayor and does things the real incumbent can't, you know, like wearing silly costumes, usually a bit tatty, and riding on a hobby horse instead of a real horse, and just generally mucking around and being part with the crowd and actually doing all the things that a real mayor can't do, and at the same time being subjected to the kind of abuse and silliness from the crowds, which kind of deflects from the real mayor. There used to be a lot of mock mayors in festivals when I grew up in Cornwall, so I decided I'd make one. I started, as always, with a few sketches. Then I created a wire armature and fleshed out the character with silver foil, because that saves on clay, you see. You can bulk it out. And I also made the head of the hobby horse. Then I covered the armature with some polymer clay and baked it so I had a nice solid base to begin with. Then began the sculpting. This one was a bit difficult because I had to do a human face. All the other characters so far have been masked, and I'm not a sculptor, but I had a go, and I think I got some character into him. And then I gradually built up his ragged finery, his tricorn hat and his coat, and I put some details on the horse. And then, as always, I sprayed it black, then sprayed it with a zenithal highlight of gold to give the impression of bronze, stuck it to a wooden base, and voila, he's finished. And here he is, joining his chums. It's going to be a May parade, I think, with the mayor at the front. That should be fun. Now, back to the fields, because the weather's got a little bit better. Love this time of year. Autumn sun shining through the autumn trees. All those lovely colours. I mean, it's still quite green, really, considering it's November. But there's a lot of brown leaves on the floor now. It's just lovely. As you can see, these lime trees are protected with a sleeve around the bottom because we have an issue around here of roe deer and muntjac. Oh, all right. Of roe deer and muntjac ripping the bark off. In fact, you can see here where they've had some of the wrapper off, and you can see the bark's missing here. Look, see, it's all chewed off. They've tried using some other ideas, like leaving bags of coal tar soap hanging on the trees, and that seems to be a bit of a deterrent, but it's not helping as much as I think people hoped it would. But it's, you know, you have to try and do these things to give the trees a chance, because if the bark gets stripped off them, they probably last about as long as a human would if you strip their skin off. You know, this one up here is really damaged. In fact, there's no sleeve on it. I think they've just possibly given up, or maybe the tree is just sufficiently old that it's probably going to survive now. Yeah, in fact these ones are a little bit more substantial. And what's interesting though, as I pointed out on the very first video I did on this channel, is that if you look down here where the sleeve used to be, you can see the original bark pattern, but as we go upwards where the sleeve wasn't, it's all covered with lichen. So in fact the lime trees that look like this is the result of them being parasitized by a lichen. If they didn't have the lichen, they'd all look like this. They'd all have a completely different colour, wouldn't they, Harris? Oh, and there is some of that coal tar soap I talked about. In fact, this is the very tree I mentioned in my first video, because there was a belt around here and there wasn't one below and above, and as you can see the original bark pattern there where the belt was. Two of them, look, two of them crossing each other. Helicopters. I mean, look at this. Look at this, look. Beautiful blue sky, lovely trees, all those lovely autumn colours, and that glorious, glorious sun. It's wonderful. I mean, how can this be November? It's madness. I mean, while a big chunk of me is very angry about global warming and climate change, I'm bloody enjoying the sunshine, I'll tell you that. Well, another lovely wintry walk, or late autumnal walk. Shame the wind today was so fierce, and even when the wind dropped, it got very, very, very cold. I mean, real cutting northerly wind. But then the sun came out, and the colours, everything just came to life. These daily walks have been a bit of a, I won't say a lifesaver, but they've certainly enhanced my life over the last, well, God knows how many years, but particularly in the last 4 or 5 years, particularly during the COVID pandemic, when this was pretty much the only break you got. And it's enriched my already existing love of nature even more. I mean, I now pine for it. I now can't wait to get out here. And I thought I'd take you along with me. That's the point of doing these videos, really. Suck up the colours, the sounds, if the helicopters let you hear them, and just enjoy life. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Toodle pip all. Bye.